My parents demanded I co-sign a mortgage for my sister's dream house, but when I said no, they threatened to cut me off forever. Then they showed up at my home and things got even worse. My parents bought a house for my sister without asking me, and now they're demanding I co-sign the mortgage. I've spent years grinding to build a stable life for myself. At 28, working in software, I've worked hard to save up for my own house. I've built a solid credit score, set aside a decent down payment, and finally started seeing a future where I could settle down on my own terms. Meanwhile, my 25-year-old sister is still in grad school, drowning in debt, and has zero credit history. That's fine. It's her journey, and I've been rooting for her. But then, out of nowhere, my parents drop a bombshell so big it's been sitting in my chest like a weight ever since. They bought a house. For her. Without asking me. At first, I was just shocked. They talked about it like it was already done, smiling and excited, going on about how they found the perfect place. But as they kept talking, the bigger picture started to come into focus, and it wasn't pretty. They said the bank won't approve the mortgage unless I co-sign. Oh, and by the way, since I've got money saved up, they think I should help with the down payment too. Wait, what? It felt like I was being ambushed. Co-signing means I'm tied to a massive loan for a house I won't even live in, and if my sister misses payments, which, let's be honest, she probably will, it's my credit on the line. Worse, having my name on her mortgage could tank my chances of getting approved for my own house in the future. I told them flat out, no, I'm not comfortable with this. That's when things exploded. My mom called me selfish, saying I should step up for the family and help my sister when she's struggling. My dad backed her up, saying I was being stingy and not showing enough family loyalty. My sister? She cried, actual tears, saying I'm abandoning her and leaving her stranded. But the worst part? My mom escalated. She said if I didn't agree, they'd cut me off financially. No help with a future wedding, no gifts, nothing. It wasn't even about the money at that point. It was the principle of it. I stood my ground, but the guilt and anger have been eating me alive. Relatives started weighing in with opinions flying in from every direction. Some think my parents are completely out of line for roping me into this mess after making a massive decision without even asking me first. Others say I should suck it up because that's what family does. Now I'm caught in this unbearable in-between. I didn't create this situation. I never even agreed to it. But somehow I'm being treated like the villain. Am I really selfish for protecting my own future? Or is it my family that's being selfish for asking me to sacrifice everything I've worked for to fix a problem I had no hand in creating? Update 1. I honestly thought standing my ground would end the drama, but apparently my family operates on the idea that no is just a suggestion. The situation has spiraled so far out of control, I don't even know how I'm still keeping my composure. The day after I told my parents I wouldn't co-sign the mortgage or help with the down payment, my mom called me again. At first, I thought maybe she wanted to have a reasonable conversation, but nope. She went straight for the emotional manipulation. She told me I was destroying the family and putting my sister's future at risk. When I reminded her that they made the offer on the house without even asking me, she said something like, "We didn't think we had to ask you to help your own sister." I'm sorry, what? Helping your sister usually involves, like, giving her advice, cheering her on, or maybe letting her borrow your favorite sweater, not tying yourself to a multi-decade financial commitment that could ruin your own plans. I told my mom I wasn't comfortable co-signing, and I wasn't going to risk my financial future for a decision they made without consulting me. That's when she hit me with the classic guilt trip, saying, "We raised you to be better than this." I responded with, "I'm pretty sure being better doesn't mean sacrificing my own goals for a house I didn't even agree to." She hung up on me. After that call, I thought maybe they'd finally back off and realize they were being unreasonable. Wrong again. The next day, I started getting texts from extended family. Apparently, my parents have been telling everyone their version of the story, which conveniently leaves out the part where they bought the house without my input. According to them, I'm just being stubborn and greedy by refusing to help my sister, who, let's not forget, is still in grad school with zero income and a mountain of debt. One of my aunts even texted me saying, "Your parents are only trying to make sure your sister has a chance at a good life. Isn't that what family is for?" Sure, family is important, but where's the line? Am I supposed to put my entire financial future on hold just because my sister decided to go to grad school and my parents made a reckless financial decision? And then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, my sister called me. She was crying, which immediately made me feel like the bad guy. But then she started saying how much she needed my help and how I was the only one who could make this work. She said, "I know I'm asking a lot, but please, you're my big sibling. You've always been the responsible one. I don't know what I'll do if you don't help." I told her, as gently as I could, that it wasn't fair for our parents to put me in this position and that I couldn't risk my own goals for her house. She said, "It's not just my house, it's for all of us. For our family." That line almost made me laugh because there's no world where this house benefits me in any way. If anything, it actively screws me over. I told her I understood she was in a tough spot, but this was something Mom and Dad needed to figure out, not me. She cried harder and hung up. Now I'm officially the family pariah. My parents have stopped talking to me altogether, except for the occasional passive-aggressive text. My sister isn't responding to my messages, and I've started hearing from more extended family members who think I'm being selfish and ungrateful. One cousin even said, "If I were in your position, I'd do whatever it takes to help my family." Easy to say when you're not the one being asked to sacrifice everything you've worked for. To make matters worse, my parents are still moving forward with the house. They haven't secured the mortgage yet because they're still banking on me changing my mind, but they're acting like it's a done deal. They've even started planning renovations and talking about furniture. My dad sent me a link to a GoFundMe they created to raise money for the down payment. Yes, you read that right. A GoFundMe. The description says something like, "Helping our daughter achieve her dream of homeownership. Any support is greatly appreciated." I couldn't believe it when I saw it. They're seriously crowdfunding a house while still expecting me to co-sign. The craziest part? Some people are actually donating. A few $100s have come in so far, and my parents are treating it like a sign that the universe is on their side. My mom texted me, "See? People understand how important this is. Why can't you?" I feel like I'm losing my mind. Every time I try to explain my side, it gets twisted into me being selfish or not valuing family. I even talked to a financial advisor to make sure I wasn't overreacting, and they confirmed what I already knew. Co-signing this mortgage would be a terrible idea. Not only would it put my credit at risk, but it would also limit my ability to get approved for my own mortgage down the line. I tried sharing this with my parents, thinking maybe some cold, hard facts would get through to them, but they just brushed it off. My dad actually said, "You're overthinking it. It's not as big of a deal as you're making it out to be." Not a big deal? Are you kidding me? This is my entire financial future we're talking about. Meanwhile, my sister doesn't even have a job lined up after grad school, and they're acting like her inability to pay the mortgage won't somehow fall on me. I don't know how much longer I can deal with this. Part of me wants to just cut them off completely and focus on my own goals, but the guilt is eating away at me. Every time I think about my sister crying on the phone, I feel like the worst person in the world. But then I remind myself that this isn't my fault. My parents created this mess when they decided to buy a house without thinking it through, and now they're trying to make me clean it up. I've started documenting everything. Every text, every phone call, every message from extended family, just in case this somehow gets uglier. At this point, I wouldn't put it past my parents to try and forge my signature or do something equally insane to make this deal happen. I hate that it's come to this. I hate that I even have to think about protecting myself from my own family. But I'm not sacrificing my future for a decision I had no part in, no matter how much they try to guilt me into it. Update 2. The situation has gone from bad to absolutely unhinged. I wish I could say things have calmed down, but no. My parents have decided to go full tilt into chaos mode. After holding my ground on not co-signing the mortgage, I thought they'd start looking for another solution. Instead, they've doubled down, and now they're trying to force my hand in ways that feel borderline manipulative. First, the GoFundMe for the down payment. It's blown up. Apparently, a family friend shared it on Facebook, and now a bunch of people from our community are donating. At first, I thought, good, maybe this will mean they don't need me to co-sign anymore. But nope. My mom called me yesterday, all smug, saying, "See? People care about your sister's future. Why can't you just be on board like everyone else?" She genuinely thinks the GoFundMe is proof that I'm in the wrong. I asked her how much they've raised so far, thinking maybe they could put it toward a bigger down payment or negotiate better terms with the bank. She wouldn't give me a straight answer. All she said was, "It's not about the money. It's about family coming together." I couldn't help but laugh. If it's not about the money, why are you crowdfunding a house and harassing me to co-sign? Meanwhile, my sister has gone radio silent. No texts, no calls, nothing. I thought maybe she was just giving me space, but then I found out through a mutual friend that she's been venting about me in a group chat. Apparently, I'm turning my back on the family and punishing her for wanting a better life. She also mentioned something about how she's been crying every night because of me. I get that she's upset, but how am I the bad guy for not wanting to destroy my credit for a house I'll never live in? The most insane part came later that same day. My dad called me out of the blue, which is rare because he usually leaves the emotional manipulation to my mom. He started off calm, but it didn't take long for the conversation to derail. He said, "We've done so much for you over the years. The least you can do is help us with this one thing." I asked him what exactly they've done for me that compares to co-signing a six-figure loan. He started listing off things like paying for my college, which I'm grateful for, but they've always said they saved for it specifically, buying me clothes when I was a kid, and taking me on family vacations. At that point, I couldn't hold back. I said, "So, because you were decent parents, I'm obligated to risk my financial future for a house I didn't ask for and don't want?" He got quiet for a moment and then hit me with, "You'll understand when you have kids of your own." Classic deflection. I told him I wasn't going to argue about this anymore and hung up. That should have been the end of it, but of course it wasn't. Later that evening, I got an email from my mom with a list of compromises they're willing to make. I thought maybe they were starting to see reason, but nope. The compromises were ridiculous. One of them was that I only needed to co-sign for 5 years, just to get your sister on her feet. Another was that I wouldn't have to contribute to the down payment if I co-signed, as if that somehow made the whole thing reasonable. But the kicker? They suggested that if I was worried about my credit, they could put the house under a trust, and I'd be a silent guarantor. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds sketchy as hell. I forwarded the email to my financial advisor, and they confirmed my gut feeling. This whole thing is a disaster waiting to happen. And Dad, I thought that was the worst of it until my parents showed up at my apartment unannounced. I wasn't home at the time, thankfully, but my roommate texted me saying they'd stopped by and left a note. When I got home and read it, I was stunned. The note basically said they were disappointed in me and that I was letting greed and pride get in the way of family. They ended it by saying, "This is your last chance to do the right thing before it's too late." What does that even mean? Too late for what? Are they planning to go through with the house anyway and leave me to deal with the fallout? Are they going to try something underhanded to force me into this? I've already started keeping track of all our interactions just in case they pull something shady, but now I'm wondering if I need to take it a step further. The whole situation has me on edge. My parents are acting completely irrational. My sister is treating me like a villain, and the rest of the family is split down the middle. Half of them think I'm being selfish, and the other half think my parents are out of their minds. My cousin called me yesterday to tell me I should watch my back because my mom has been ranting about how ungrateful I am to anyone who will listen. Apparently, she even told one of her friends that I've forgotten my roots because I work in tech and make a decent living. I can't believe it's come to this. I feel like I'm being punished for being responsible and setting boundaries. Meanwhile, my parents are acting like their poor decision-making is somehow my problem to solve. I've started looking into ways to legally protect myself in case they try to forge my signature or do something equally insane. At this point, nothing would surprise me. I'm also debating whether I should cut contact with them altogether. It feels extreme, but I don't know how else to make them understand that I'm serious about this. Every time I try to explain my side, it falls on deaf ears. They're so laser focused on this house that they can't see how unreasonable they're being. The worst part is, I know this isn't just about the house. This is about control. My parents have always had a hard time letting go, and I think this is their way of trying to keep me tethered to them. Co-signing the mortgage would give them leverage over me for years, and I'm sure they know that. For now, I'm holding firm. I've blocked them on social media to avoid the constant guilt tripping, but I'm still dreading what they'll come up with next. Every time my phone rings, my stomach drops because I'm half expecting another manipulative text or phone call. I'm trying to stay focused on my own goals, but it's hard when the people who are supposed to support you are actively working against you. At this point, I just want this nightmare to end, but I have a feeling it's far from over.